In honor of National Moth Week, come one, come all to the Moth Ball. This is a STEAM project with the Calcasieu Parish Public Library for 1st through 5th graders. Enjoy! Hi, I'm Katie with the Calcasieu Parish Public Library, and I'm thrilled that you're joining me today for this fun, exciting STEAM project that you can try at home. What is a moth ball? We're going to see how many moths we can bring together in one place. By using a light source and a reflective material like a pillowcase or a sheet, we're going to see if we can bring them together so that we can observe them. My inspiration for this project was this library book. You're Invited to a Moth Ball, a Nighttime Insect Celebration by Lori Griffin Burns. If you check this book out, there's additional information about how to hold your own successful moth ball, like recipes that attract different kinds of moths. Stay tuned for up-close footage and pictures of the moths that came to my ball. Well, are y'all ready to get started? Let's go. Essentials you'll need to try this project at home are a white sheet or a pillowcase, rope and clothespins or some other way to hang your sheet, a light source, we'll get more into that later, an extension cord, and a flashlight. Other items that are optional but might help you gather more details about your account are a camera to take pictures of the moths, a ruler if you'd like to measure how big or small they are, a notepad and pencil so you can jot down other identifying characteristics of the moths that come to the ball, a magnifying glass so that you can see the moths a little more closely, and a headlamp. If you try this experiment at home, when you're done, be sure to practice kindness and compassion to our animal and insect friends. Turn your light sources off and wait a few minutes, giving the insects time to readjust their eyesight to the nighttime light. Also be sure to give your pillowcase or your sheet a good shake, letting your insect friends release their grip and make their way back into the nighttime environment. There are more than 150,000 different moth species, and hundreds probably live where you do. A moth ball is a great way to meet them up close. The details of a moth's appearance and a good field guide can help you determine what species of moth you've found. All moths have similar body anatomy. Let's review. They have antennae, they have a head, a thorax, 2 forewings, an abdomen, and hind wings. Can anyone tell me how many stages there are in a moth's life? If you said 4, much like a butterfly, you are correct. Egg, caterpillar, pupa, and finally an adult moth. So by the time we see the moths at our moth ball, they're fully grown adults ready to mate and lay their own eggs to begin this life cycle all over. Have you ever heard the expression like a moth to the flame? There are different kinds of light, some visible to our eyes and some not. Moths are drawn to all of them. Scientists don't really know why, but there's some interesting theories we'll talk about later. What we do know is that the light we typically call ultraviolet light is the kind that's most enticing to moths. So for my experiment, I had 2 ultraviolet lights and 1 bright white light. Take a look at my setup. I decided to hang my sheet on this fence because I thought that it would help support it against wind blowing through. So I just clothespinned all the corners, and then I began to work on my light setup. Notice that I have my lights lifted up off of the ground. So I set out 2 chairs and a table. I have my extension cord propped up on the table, and then I set my lights up on the chairs. It's very important to keep any kind of electrical source away from water, and the ground in Southwest Louisiana can be damp. Be sure to get a caregiver or your parents' permission and let them help you with this setup. I have several types of lights, and here we go. Will the experiment work? Will I actually attract some moths? Let's take a look at the footage. During the last several decades, the number of insects seems to be declining. Insects are an important source of food for almost all other animals. They also do very important jobs like pollinating flowers and breaking down other organic matter. Some of the insects most affected include bees, butterflies, and moths. Although I wouldn't have been able to tell from my experiment, tons of insects, small and large, showed up to the party, and also a couple of frogs. The frogs and the larger insects were feasting on the smaller insects, like mosquitoes and ladybugs. It was fascinating, and I documented everything that I saw. You may want to keep mosquito spray nearby, although I never got bit, but you don't want to take any chances. I used my camera to take pictures of all the insects and moths that came to the ball. Then I used my library's field guides to find out exactly what they were. Now, let's take a closer look at the moths that came to the ball. What I noticed is not only did they land on the sheet, but also in the surrounding area, like on the lights themselves or on plants. So if you try this experiment at home, be sure to keep your eyes open in your whole surroundings. I only labeled the ones that I knew exactly what they were. Let's take a look. The moth ball was a huge success. Now let's talk about why moths are attracted to light. As I mentioned before, scientists aren't completely sure, but they have some interesting theories. One idea is that the moon or bright stars can be used as directional finding aids by the moths. To moths, street lights and porch lights might look like the moon, which could mislead them. Another idea is that lights trick moths into seeing visual illusions of darker areas near the lights. These are called moth bands. There's other theories too. I encourage you to do your own research and see what you come up with. Lastly, I want to say that if you don't have the equipment to try this experiment at home, don't let that discourage you. These next few moths are ones that I saw around my own house near dusk. You just never know what you'll see if you keep your eyes open. This is a black witch moth, and she's female. You can tell by the large band across her back. Almost 1 year later to the day, I saw a male in nearly the same place. See how he doesn't have a large band across his back? Let's take one more look at the female. This next moth I saw near the library, and she held a surprise. She looked sort of normal with her wings folded over her back, but when she opened them up, her back looked like an owl. This is to starve off predators. And this final moth, the rosy maple moth, is one that a friend sent me a picture of that she saw right here in Calcasieu Parish. Isn't it beautiful? Thank you for joining me for this STEAM experiment with the Calcasieu Parish Public Library. If you liked this program, let us know in the comments below. Enjoy the rest of your summer. Bye!